Welcome back, everybody. I'm Roger Porcelli, aka Pork Chop, and today we're going to go over the top 5 common mistakes I see people make most often. How many times have you been doing well at a race only to lose a shoe or have your axle pop off because you weren't using the retainer, or your body fall off because you didn't have it secured properly? To have a good result get ruined by something that could and probably should have been avoided can be extremely frustrating.
Forget it, I quit. I can't do this anymore, man. My head's about to explode. My whole life sucks. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going.
So let's get started and see if we can get this all sorted out. First up on the list is oiling, or more precisely, over-oiling.
We struck off, baby!
Yes, of course, oil is absolutely needed to keep the car running in proper order, but less is more. I'm looking at you, Bob Colleran. All joking aside, it really is important that you do not over-oil the car. If you do, you're going to have oil all over the track, and you're not only going to be hurting your car's handling and performance, but everyone else after you. Okay, so maybe it's not a bad thing to hurt everybody else, but you will hurt your performance as well. So with that said, let's go over how to properly oil the car. I like to use free jet oil, and mainly because the applicator is nice and fine. And what you want to do is put a very small drop, very little bit here on the end bell, a little bit more back by the rear bushing, and just a little drop by each rear axle, and then the same for the front. And that's it. No more than that. Now, as far as how often to oil, if you're in the main, do it every segment. They're usually 5 or 4 minute segment lengths. So every one of those is fine. If you're in shorter segments, like 2-minute segments, do it every other segment. The oil will generally last about 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about pickup shoes and why everybody keeps losing theirs. I can honestly say the only time I've ever lost a shoe, especially when racing the Viper style cars, is if I've broken the pickup retaining tab itself and it just falls off because there's nothing there to hold it on. I'll link it down below, but I already did a video on how to properly adjust your shoes and pickup shoe holders, but we'll go over it again really quickly here. Okay, so we're going to go over how to do the pickup shoe holder first. And there's really only one bend that I put in that, and that's right here. And we're going to bend it forward, and what that does is it'll pull the shoe up into the car a little bit more, and that's mainly for ride height, but it also helps hold it in the car. So we'll grab it right here on this flange down here at the bottom, make sure it's nice and level, and bend it just a little bit. So you can see we put a little forward bend in it. Moving on to the pickup shoe, there's really only one bend to do here as well, and that's up here at the front. And what we're going to do is take this arc out of it and make it a much tighter angle, and that helps hold it onto the retaining tab. So we'll grab it nice and low, push with our thumb to make sure the pliers grabs it as deep into the shoe as it can, squeeze, and push down again. And you can see that the bend is nice and sharp. And again, I'll link down below. There's a full video on how to adjust pickup shoes and pickup shoe holders. Moving right along, let's talk about number 3, retainers. And why you just won't put your retainer in, and as a result, lose a race because of it. This one just boggles my mind because it's complete laziness. Not putting the retainer in, there's just no reason for it. Why would you want to spend all that time setting up an axle, not put a retainer in, have the axle pop out, and ruin the gear that you just spent all that time setting up? I just don't get it. If you're running a car that doesn't have the rear axles drilled out for a retainer, and I'm at the race with you, come to me. I'll drill it out for you so that you can run a retainer. If you are running a car that has the rear axle drilled for a retainer and you don't have a retainer in that car, but there's one in your box, go get the one in the box. Number 4, bodies and having a body fall off in the race. I've had this happen to me way too many times, way more than I'd like to admit, whether the body is ripped and it comes off because it's ripped, or I lose a pin, or the sides of the bodies are too flimsy and they just roll out of the chassis. Whatever the reason, it's just extremely frustrating to lose a body. Now, we're not going to go ahead and mount another body. I already did a video on that, and that'll be linked in the description down below. But what we are going to go over is the tip at the end of that body video where I show you how to fold the sides of the body in to lessen the chance that the body will fall off. So here's an old body of mine that's not being used anymore, but is perfect to illustrate the tip I'm talking about. So if we look at the body and we flip it over, you can see that the sides are flared out away from the body. The easy way to fix this is to fold the sides in. And the way you want to do that is by creasing along this line right here, this body line. So we'll grab the body in the center like this, hold it over, and then squeeze and crease along that edge, and you can see the body starting to come in. Do both sides. What you want to be careful of when you do this is doing it too much and having the body lower too much towards the rear tires and possibly cutting them. So as you can see, the sides are folded in towards the center of the chassis, and that will help hold the body on the chassis. All right, we've reached tip number 5, and this is the situation I see get abused more often than anything else. What am I talking about? Controllers and over adjusting after every wreck. Now, I'm not going to stand here and tell you that I don't do the same thing. I'm guilty of it as well, but this is something that you really need to resist the urge of doing. Every time you wreck, you don't need to go ahead and grab one of the knobs and adjust something. If you've had a couple of wrecks and you want to take some sensitivity out of it to keep from wrecking again, that is probably the only thing that you should be reaching your controller for. If you're interested in learning more about how I use my controller, take a look at the previous video I've already done on controllers, linked in the description down below. Alright, we reached the end of the list. As you can see, there's nothing really earth-shattering in any of these 5 tips. It's all mainly attention to detail and self-control. If you like this video, let me know in the comments down below. If you didn't like it, let me know what you did not like about it so I can improve future videos. Take a look at the description down below for links to slot car related products, and with that, keep it in the slot, and I will see you next time.